Captain John Smith stared out the viewport of his ship, the RSS Intrepid, as it drifted through space. He and his human crew were on a top-secret mission to deliver a shipment of illegal human-made weapons to the resistance forces on the planet Graxia. The Galactic Federation had banned all projectile and explosive weapons centuries ago, but the humans refused to give up their guns and bombs. While the other species complied, humanity continued developing powerful weapons in secret. They saw it as their right to bear arms. Now the Graxians were rising up against the brutal dictatorship controlling their planet. They had learned of humanity's secret weapon caches and pleaded for help. Captain Smith was sympathetic to their cause. He believed all beings should have the ability to defend themselves, Federation laws be damned. Entering the Graxia system, Sir, reported his navigator, Lieutenant Tom Davis. No Federation ships on long-range sensors. Very good, Smith replied. Take us into orbit behind the planet's moon. We'll launch the cargo pods from there. Pilot Joey Thompson expertly maneuvered the Intrepid into position in the moon's orbital shadow. The Graxian resistance would send transport ships to pick up the pods and distribute the weapons among their forces. Cargo loaded, announced Chief Engineer Mike Robinson. Detonation pods are hot and ready for launch. Smith gave a satisfied smile. The detonation pods were the newest innovation in human weapons technology. Each pod contained a mix of old-fashioned TNT, futuristic nanothermite explosives, and a gravity wave generator. Once launched from the Intrepid, the generator would create an artificial gravity well, pulling in anything nearby just before the massive explosion. They were originally designed as mines but worked just as well for delivering payloads like this. Launch when ready, Smith ordered. Aim for the northern coastal region. A series of thumps reverberated through the hull as the pods shot out into space. Smith watched proudly as they streaked away. He had always been fascinated with explosives as a boy. He joined the military as soon as he could, volunteering for every demolition and weapons assignment available. Delivering these weapons to aid others fighting oppression was a dream come true. Transport ship approaching, Davis called out. They are signaling thanks and will take possession of the pods. Tell them goods delivered as promised, Smith replied, and remind them we expect payment within 24 hours. Smith refrained from asking about any casualties inflicted or territory gained once the Graxians secured the weapons. Plausible deniability was part of the deal. He didn't want to know the details, only that humanity had once again provided the tools of liberation. With their mission complete, the Intrepid slipped away into the shadows. The crew jokingly called their ship a smuggler's vessel after an old science fiction hull of it, but they took their duty seriously. As they left Graxian space, Smith's mind was already planning their next delivery. A few weeks later, the Intrepid was approaching a secret rendezvous point in an uninhabited system. They were meeting another human ship, the RSS Covert, to transfer illegal plasma charges. The plasma charges were cylindrical biphasic devices that sprayed deadly plasma in all directions when detonated. They had greater range and firepower than any lawful anti-personnel weapon in the Federation. Entering rendezvous coordinates, Lieutenant Davis reported. Any sensor contacts, Smith asked. Negative, sir. We are alone. As the Intrepid slowed to maneuvering speed, Covert decloaked several kilometers off their starboard side. The sleek black ship was designed for stealth operations. After docking, the crews greeted each other warmly. Captain Jack Hill of the Covert was an old friend of Smith's from his early military days. The men exchanged vigorous handshakes while their crews unloaded cases of plasma charges. Beautiful pieces you've got there, Jack Smith admired. It's been too long since we unleashed these babies together. Hill laughed heartily. That it has, John. The Klaxons will never know what hit them when these land on their colony. The reptilian Klaxons were the next species on humanity's secret client list. An extremist faction had seized control of one of their remote colonies and were threatening Federation ships that approached. Humanity had agreed to discreetly remove the threat. Both men took pride in skillfully deploying advanced human weaponry. They believed it was their evolutionary right as hunters and warriors. The plasma charges ensured justice would rain down swiftly on the Klaxon extremists. After farewell handshakes, the crews returned to their ships and disengaged. Smith was slightly envious of Hill getting the more action-oriented mission this time. But he knew their camaraderie and shared love of deadly weapons would bring them together again soon. There were always more oppressors in the galaxy needing to be destroyed. 3 months later, Captain Smith eagerly awaited the return of an intrepid shuttle carrying their ground team. Sergeants Willis, Carter, and Young had been scouting the surface of an inhabited moon around gas giant Phi-12. The team had gone to make covert contact with the natives and assess their combat readiness and resource levels. The Phi-12 moon was one of the first worlds settled by the bat-like Xelians centuries ago, but the planet had become dominated by the Crux, a ruthless species of crustacean-like creatures. The Xelians had been fighting a grueling insurgency ever since. The shuttle doors slid open and the ground team walked onto the hangar deck. Their dark armor was still dusty from the planet's surface. Smith noted with satisfaction that the 3 men were bristling with exotic kinetic firearms taken from the Xelians. "Mission report," he ordered. Sergeant Willis stepped forward. "The Xelians are well organized, sir. Their guerrilla tactics have weakened Crux control over several provinces, but they are critically low on firearms and explosives." Smith nodded. "And their will to keep fighting." Sergeant Carter replied, "Hi, sir. Their clan elders are strongly determined to liberate their home world. They gratefully accepted our weapons demonstration." "Excellent. Then they qualify for our aid. Chief Robinson, prepare a supply of fragmentation grenades, shoulder-fired missiles, assault rifles, and ammunition." "Yes, Sir," Robinson said eagerly. He loved tinkering with engineering and mechanics. Outfitting the resistance forces would be a rewarding project. The Xelians would be receiving simple but brutally effective human creations. The shoulder-fired missiles could take down low-flying Crux gunships. The grenades could clear bunkers and buildings occupied by Crux troops. And good old-fashioned automatic rifles gave ground fighters maneuverability and lethality. Combined, they could tip the balance on the moon back towards the Xelians. "Also leave some anti-tank mines," Smith added. "Target the Crux supply lines, cutting logistics and isolating enemy units was Tactics 101. The ground team exchanged smiles, knowing their findings had given the Xelians a fighting chance. The polymers, chemicals, and machining techniques mankind had perfected over centuries would soon be unleashed. Captain Smith swelled with pride at how far human weaponsmanship had come. If only his ancestors could see him now, orchestrating resistance forces across the galaxy. Over the next few months, the intrepid crew delivered arms to several more planets caught in civil wars against tyrannical overlords. Captain Smith came to see himself as a latter-day freedom fighter, helping the oppressed with Earth's creations. He was working alone in his cabin one night when the engines suddenly surged to combat power. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Something had gone wrong. Smith sprinted up to the bridge where the crew was frantically manning their stations. "Report," he barked. Federation Customs ship on an intercept course. Davis responded. "They scanned us during the acceleration burst and detected the weapons materials in our holds." Smith's blood turned to ice. They had been caught red-handed with illegal arms, battle stations. "Divert all power to engines and shields. We cannot let them board and search this ship." If they were boarded, there would be no explaining away the banned human-made guns and explosives. The intrepid crew would be arrested and sentenced harshly. All their clandestine work aiding resistance groups would be exposed. It could even provoke a larger conflict between humans and the Federation. "Sir, they are launching assault pods to breach our hull," Thompson warned. "Arm the security team," Smith ordered. As Marines scrambled through the decks, he added, "Activate the modified torpedo tubes. Target their propulsion only. We want to disable, not destroy." Bright lances of plasma energy leapt from the Intrepid. They were answered by return fire from the Federation ship. The much larger customs vessel had them overpowered, but Smith hoped their modified systems gave them a fighting chance. "Torpedoes away," Davis reported after a shuddering volley. "Direct hits amidships. Their sublight engines are down." A cheer went up on the bridge, but it was short-lived. Return fire from the wounded Federation ship knocked out 2 of their own thrusters. Another barrage breached the cargo holds, venting their incriminating contents into space. "Seal those holds," Smith commanded. "Divert all remaining power to the shields." It was only a matter of time before they lost propulsion entirely. Damage reports flooded the bridge. Casualties were mounting from weapons fire and explosive decompression. The customs ship could patiently batter them until their shields collapsed. As warning klaxons continued blaring, Smith sadly realized there was only one way this could end. He gave a grim nod to his old friend Lieutenant Davis, who solemnly keyed the ship's self-destruct sequence. His only consolation was they would take the Federation bastards with them. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Smith told his brave crew as destruction approached. "No one can take away what we accomplished together." The Intrepid erupted in a searing plasma fireball, joining the arsenal they carried into oblivion. Their crew sacrificed themselves to protect the greater mission. Humanity would persevere and keep developing weapons, whatever the cost. Mankind would never give up the fight.